From the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I'm Lou Palmer. In less than 48 minutes, we are scheduled to see the start of the 500. Those who are scheduled to start among a very select few. In all of time, I understand only 572 drivers have competed in the Indianapolis 500, though thousands of drivers have aimed for it. Millions. If you count every kid who behind the wheel of the family car for the first time wondered, if only for an instant, if maybe, just maybe, he or she might wind up driving at Indy.
IndyCar Radio on the IMS Radio Network. Is IndyCar Radio on the IMS Radio Network.
We've seen Andretti run midgets, sprint cars, championship cars, and here at the 500. And this undoubtedly has to be the ultimate of his racing career as he streaks down the backstretch through the second turn beautifully. He should be in the sight of Doug Zink.
We've got him, Howdy. He's passing Larry Dixon here on the backstretch and heading up towards turn number 3 and Ron Carroll.
All right, Doug, and I have him right now, diving low down by the white line. Around he goes into turn number 4. Come in, jump shelter.
Ronnie's in my sights, and what a beautiful sight it is. What a competent guy. The people up here are applauding, and boy, a happy crew we know. And here is Sid Collins.
And here's the checkered flag. Pat Badan holds it and waves it for Mario Andretti, winner of the 1969 500-mile race.
And here he is in that brilliant blue-yellow stripes. Johnny Lightning Special. Allenser goes by to turn number 4 in Jum Jum.
Okay, Ron, the handsome man from Albuquerque, the blue number 2, and he got quite a hand up here. The crowd rose as one when he came by, and that's a great tribute to a great driver with a great car. And now here is Sid.
Allenser, the checkered flag, the winner of the 1970 Indianapolis 500-mile race. And his crew goes wild. Pick him up, Mike.
Right, Sid, and meanwhile, along the track apron is brother Bobby, who won here in 1968. is coasting and as if to say, okay, kid, it's your turn to win this 500-mile race. It's all yours.
I'm Lou Palmer. We're here with you live from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. For some of you in flamboyant stereo. For others, we're pumping magnificent mono. And if you'll lend us even half an ear, we'll bring you 300.
From the Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania, this is the Verizon IndyCar Series on the Advance Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network.
Well, they didn't waste any time, folks. From pit road at Pocono, I'm Mark Janes. A little bit different vantage point for this final warm-up session. Normally we go up in the booth for this, but we decided to set up shop on pit road so we could get a little more of that Nat sound, as we've referred to it. Qualifying is completed in preparation for tomorrow's ABC Supply 500. And Takuma Sato, the very last qualifier, went out and turned an awfully fast lap, just barely knocking Simon Padgett off the pole. The average for Takuma Sato was 219.639 miles per hour. Simon Padgett on the outside of the front row, 219.395. Nick Yeoman also joins us on pit road. And Nick, let's face it, you're Simon Padgett. You're in the battle for the championship. You've got a good front row starting position, but that bonus point for pole could make all the difference in the world by the time we get to Sonoma.
Yeah, how many times have we gotten to the final race of the season, no matter if it's been ending the season at Sonoma or maybe at Homestead or sometimes at Chicagoland, and the championship battle is so very tight that it comes down to those bonus points. What a qualifying run, though, for Takuma Sato, as you mentioned. And not only for him to post a big two-lap average to grab the pole as the last car out, but to have to go out right after his teammate makes a heavy contact at the turn 3 wall. That was mighty impressive for Takuma Sato. As you talked about, Mark, it's still a great weekend for Simon Padgett. He's got a fast race car, qualified better than all of those other championship counterparts. As we talk about the top 4 within 17 points, Simon's that 4th player here in the championship battle. He qualifies better than Newgarden, Castroneves, and Dixon. But, boy, you better believe that he wanted that pole. And we talked to him afterwards, and he was a little bit disappointed to let that pole position slip away. But still, that car is awful fast, and it's going to be a lot of fun, Mark, to see he and Takuma Sato lead the field to the green of the ABC Supply 500 tomorrow afternoon.
Sato got a long, hard look at that wreckage involving Ryan Hunter-Reay's car. Hunter-Reay making heavy contact with the outside and inside retaining walls. They had it on the hook, and it was parked right in Sato's plain sight while he was waiting to exit pit road. But Nick, one of the many benefits of a multi-car team, in the post-qualifying news conference, Takuma Sato couldn't give enough credit to Alexander Rossi, his teammate, who had already qualified. He came down pit road before Taku went out, and he gave him a lot of credit for calming his fears as he prepared to go qualifying after that big crash and the struggles that their other teammate Marco Andretti had in qualifying.
Yeah, that was pretty cool, wasn't it? I mean, to see these teams work together, these drivers that kind of check their egos at the door, especially during qualifying when there is so much data to be shared, as Sato got last-second instructions from Alexander Rossi. Also got a good view of that torn-up car of Ryan Hunter-Reay. Down here on pit lane, Mark, I'll tell you what, one thing I'm surprised, and I wasn't sure we were going to see this, the Hitachi crew, Elio Castroneves' crew, they hustled onto pit lane. They've got that backup car put together and ready for Elio Castroneves. Elio ran down to here to his pit box and hopped in that Hitachi car. So one of the drivers that has had a really rough day, as Elio had a big-time hit in qualifying in turn number 1. Good news is, Mark, he is in that race car. It looks like he's going to get to turn some laps here in practice.
More about Ryan Hunter-Reay. They're working on repairs for that car. We obviously won't see it run because, Nick, Ryan Hunter-Reay was taken to the Lehigh Valley Medical Center for further observation and further treatment. He was able to squeeze himself out of that race car under his own power, but he was not able to put full weight in terms of standing up and had to have help to the safety car. And I don't think a firm decision will be made until tomorrow, but certainly Ryan Hunter-Reay with a big-time hit in turn number 3.
Yeah, of course, it's up in the air. We don't really know what the status of him his ride will be for tomorrow. And with that accident happening so late in qualifying, it only made sense that they weren't going to be able to get that car out here onto the racetrack for the final 30-minute practice session. So it certainly made sense for him to take the ambulance ride over to Lehigh Valley to get checked out, as you mentioned, limping pretty heavy after just a slight wobble in turn 3. Sent him to the outside wall and then back across the racetrack where he made pretty heavy contact to the inside wall of the pit lanes. So we're hoping Ryan Hunter-Reay is okay. Certainly that was a big hit, and hopefully that we'll get to see a guy that's gone to victory lane a couple years ago here at Pocono Raceway get the race tomorrow in that DHL Honda.
Some other guys who normally have trouble-free weekends that struggled today. We're talking about Edy Carpenter. His didn't occur in qualifying. It occurred earlier in the day during the practice session. Ed made contact with the wall. The team was able to make repairs, but the problem for Edy Carpenter was 6 to 7 minutes late to tech inspection. And the rules state simply, if that's the case, you lose your opportunity to qualify. Our Dave First caught up with Edy Carpenter with his thoughts on the rule book causing him to roll off 22nd tomorrow.
Ed's fine. The car is fine. Put back together now. You're not going to be making a qualifying run, though.
Yeah, you have to everyone has to post in qualifying tech line 30 minutes before qualifying starts, and we're 6 minutes late for that, so the rules are the rules. You know, it's a little disappointing that the guys work so hard, and the rule's the same whether we're at a 2-day show like this or at a 3-day show where there's more time. So I think it needs to get looked at. You know, we're here to put on a show and entertain people, and it doesn't make sense to me to have a car capable of qualifying just sitting back there, but it is what it is. I got to take it, and we'll just have to come from the back tomorrow. This
isn't a statement about the crew or anything. Were you guys aware of that time deadline that was approaching as you guys were getting that car ready?
Yeah, I mean, the choice we have to make, you know, because we put the setup on the car, you know, we had two choices: make the qualifying line, but not know what the setup is, which is, you know, that's not the safe thing to do for anybody, or responsible thing to do, or, you know, take that few extra minutes and be late for tech and, you know, hope that maybe they'll let it slide. But it's the way it goes. You know, I don't like it. I'm not crying about it, but I do think for the entertainment of what we're doing, I would have liked to have gone out here right now and put on a show. So bummed that I can't do it, but we'll work our way to the front tomorrow.
You'll start from the rear. That makes this practice session this afternoon pretty important, doesn't it?
Yeah, you know, we spent most of our time this morning in running in race trim, so, or all of it really, and I felt like we were pretty good and had pretty good speed, so not all is lost, just gonna have to fight a little harder for it.
So that's Edy Carpenter. And again, Ed not able to make a qualifying run, but again, Ryan Hunter-Reay started dead last on the field last year, was able to get to victory lane, so we'll see if Edy Carpenter enjoys similar fortunes on race day tomorrow. Just a handful of minutes into this session, 8 to be exact. Carlos Munoz is P1, Marco Andretti, Tony Kanaan, Alexander Rossi, and Simon Padgett. Speeds right now running in the 214-mile-an-hour range. But one thing's for sure, that they are seeing what the cars will do in race trim, Nick Yeoman. A lot of guys swapping positions and going side by side, and really tested the draft at the end of the front straightaway, and then that tunnel turn, just going into the tunnel turn, that straightaway between 1 and 2.
Yeah, for sure. The strategy during the 75-minute practice session this morning that actually ended up being closer to about 80 to 85 minutes with all the carnage that we had. We saw varying strategies. Some drivers worked on qualifying trim. Some drivers worked in traffic. After qualifying, though, everyone's kind of on the same page. It's time to mix it up. It's time to get these race cars handling good in traffic so that you can pull up and make passes. That's kind of what we expect at Pocono Raceway, right? I mean, it's always been side by side, lots of drafting, and a very competitive race. The pole sitter, Takuma Sato, just brought that car to pit lane. New sponsorship on that car, Expedite Home Loans. It's a division of Ruoff Horn-Mogridge, which, of course, was on the car when he won the 101st Indianapolis 500 during May. He's brought that car to pit lane. They didn't make a lot of adjustments. Right behind him is Graham Rahal, another one of those drivers that is right there in the championship battle. You can hear Takuma Sato peel field out of his pit box. We're going to try to grab a word with Ziggy Harkis, Mark, here just in a few moments. He's on the pit box calling the shots for Takuma Sato. It's been a great weekend so far for the Japanese driver.
Yeah, you talked a little bit about that strategy and who was working on what and when, and you heard Ed Carpenter just a few moments ago in our conversations with him earlier today. The thing that he was frustrated about, he didn't have any idea what kind of qualifying car he would have had anyway, because he spent most of that practice session working in race trim. But nonetheless, the repairs were made on the car, and he's ready to go racing tomorrow. Preparations continue in the midst of a final 30-minute warm-up session for tomorrow's ABC Supply 500 here at Pocono Raceway.
Hi, I'm Mario Andretti. To promote the Firehawk Indy 500 tire, Firestone asked me to describe what it feels like to win the world's biggest race on Firestone tires. I would say it feels like vroom, 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 ba-dum, boom, 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 boom. And that's pretty much it.
Whatever you drive a Firestone.
Final warm-up session underway in preparation for tomorrow's ABC Supply 500. Mark Janes, Nick Yeoman. We're on pit road for this final warm-up session. Normally, we're in the friendly confines and climate-controlled confines of our booth, but we decided to get down on pit road today and give a little different perspective to things. At 5 o'clock when this session started, it was 78 degrees. The track temperature, 113 degrees. A pretty decent, steady breeze, keeping it very, very comfortable in terms of conditions here at Pocono. Well, a little interesting twist on this next interview. Our driver analyst this weekend, Zach Veach, who's subbing for Davey Hamilton. Always excited to have Zach with us. But, Zach, we wanted to take this opportunity for a driver to interview a driver, and you've caught up with Spencer Pigot.
Yeah, guys, I have driver the number 20 Fuzzy's Vodka Chevrolet on the road and street courses here this weekend. Spencer Pigot, you know, you're here learning as much as you can with your team on the super speedways. Why don't you take us through your 2017 season so far?
Well, I got to say the real highlight was at Barber Motorsports Park when I had you as my teammate. It was definitely the highlight reunited after all those years apart. No, it's been good. I think we've had some good races, some not so good races, just kind of a little up and down. But you know, hopefully we can finish off the season strong here at Watkins and then Sonoma.
Well, just to let everyone know, I did pay you to say that. And second question, you got anything?
Technical problem with Zach Veach in his interview with Spencer Pigot. And, yeah, so... Oh, we do have a yellow flag for track inspections. As we mentioned, this is a little unorthodox in terms of our setup for this. Let's go back to Zach Veach, see if he can finish his conversation with Spencer Pigot. Zach?
All right, thank you, guys. Sorry, we just lost it here. But the next question I wanted to ask you about 2018. Do you have any plans set in stone yet, or what are you trying to work towards?
No, nothing set in stone. Obviously, I want to be full-time driving an IndyCar just like you. So hopefully we can both be there next year on the grid together. You know, I don't think we'll really get much done until after Sonoma, so that's when it'll all turn towards 2018. But right now, you know, just focusing on finishing this year off.
All right, man. Thank you. Best of luck at Watkins and Sonoma later in the year.
Thanks, Zach.
Stuff, Zach Veach and Spencer Pigot, and then he says that he thinks Spencer Pigot does, Nick Yeoman. It'll be after Sonoma before dominoes start to fall, but we had conversations earlier today with Larry Foyt, and he seems to think some announcements will start to come as soon as next week, in fact, in terms of 2018.
Yeah, you know, we're all kind of waiting on that big domino to fall in terms of which way Michael Andretti's organization is going to lean. Obviously, with the new car, he's looking to possibly go to a new engine manufacturer, maybe making the move from Honda back to Chevrolet. And then you're right. Then it sets up lots of dominoes. What's Schmidt-Peterson going to do? What is Larry Foyt's AJ Foyt Racing team? What are they going to do? Chip Ganassi Racing. There's been some rumors that organization may be changing up a little bit. So it's going to be interesting, Mark. And it does sound like that over the next couple weeks, those dominoes are going to begin to fall, and we're going to start hearing some of those announcements to figure out who's going to be driving where in 2018.
Track inspection, as we mentioned, taking a look-see, and as we walk up and down pit road, we can see the crews almost immediately from the time the cars arrived. Nick Yeoman on this end anyway. The folks from Firestone were over the wall quickly looking at the Firestone Firehawk. And speaking of that Firehawk, he's shadowing me on pit road right now. But taking a look-see at those tires, and they found, what, 3 bolts during the practice session earlier that cut tires, Nick?
Yeah, we saw a lot of track inspection. Let's get a quick word with Ziggy Harkis, who is the strategist for the pole sitter Takuma Sato. Okay, you have a teammate crash in qualifying. Takuma has to be the last car go out and lays down a big lap. How proud of you were of him? Because that's not easy to do, I would imagine.
No, I'm really proud of him. He did a great job there. Used his head. I mean, he got right up by the wall and still hung in there and got right back into it. So he did a fantastic job. And then, I mean, right before we went out, Rossi came running down all the way down pit lane and told him, he said, hey, turn 3 is not the problem. Just concentrate on turn 1, even though that Ryan had just crashed. So good teamwork by all of us there, and I just wish that Ryan had got in there, but no, Taco, smart boy, and drove really well, so good job.
72 points back. You guys, I assume, aren't feeling like you're out of this championship hunt at all, right?
No, we're not giving up, and Michael Andretti would be kicking my butt if we were thinking that. So, yeah, no, we know we've got our hands full, but we're going to still keep in there and keep trying the best we can.
I'd appreciate it. We'll let Ziggy Harkis get back to work. Again, what an impressive run by Takuma Sato, Mark. I can't say enough. He was the last car to go out in qualifying. And after Ryan Hunter-Reay had that crash, they brought that battered DHL Honda right in front of Sato to see as they were trying to get that car back to the paddock, and he went out, and it was a ragged edge run for sure, but Taku grabs the pole. He'll lead the field to the green tomorrow afternoon, Mark.
Yeah, you know, I'm looking at the pit box right now for Ryan Hunter-Reay, and honestly, it looks a little eerie, Nick, to be honest with you, to see it all buttoned up and tied up with the straps down in case we get any weather. Our Michael Young caught up earlier today with Michael Andretti at the start of this session, in fact, and Michael says they are going to a backup for the 28 machine. That's not a big surprise, but Michael Andretti told Michael Young he also expects Ryan to drive, but obviously they're waiting on him to be clear. To get that information, courtesy of our Michael Young, who talked to Michael Andretti just moments ago. Nick?
Hey, walking up and down pit lane, you never know who you're going to bump into, and I'm talking with a guy that well, quite literally races anything these days. That is Matthew Brabham. Has quite a few IndyCar and Indy Lights starts under his belt. You're here at Pocono Raceway. This is a big, fast racetrack. What are your thoughts and impressions of watching these guys? I know you want to be in a car, but the perspective from down here on pit lane, seeing these guys buzz by at 225.
Yeah, it's always cool to be at a race. You know, obviously I'd much rather be in the driver's seat, as everyone knows, but I mean, these guys today and you know, especially in qualifying, watching, I mean, it looks tough out there, and you know, it seems a little bit sketchy because it's quite windy and it's really hot at the moment. And yeah, we saw a lot of incidents in qualifying, and I was even just driving the 2-seater before with Mario, and he came up to me and was like, man, how slippery was it out there? And I'm like, well, obviously I'm running a little bit more downforce than you, but yeah, it was definitely a little bit slippery, so it should be interesting to see how these guys go in practice.
Update us, Stadium Truck Series. Like, watch that every time I get a chance to. It's really an exciting series to compete in. How much fun are you having driving those stadium trucks and banging wheels and everything with Robbie Gordon and the likes?
Yeah, it's so much fun. I mean, it's definitely an entertaining series, you know, from the sidelines and sitting in the driver's seat. So I have so much fun doing it. And, you know, I'm obviously really grateful for Robbie for taking me under his wing and give me something to do and keep me in the racing seat while I work on other things. So obviously my number one goal is trying to get back at an IndyCar, and I'm working you know, hard every day at trying to get the funding and all the opportunities I can get to try and get myself back in. But in the meantime, I mean, Super Trucks has just been awesome, and you know, we're really looking forward to the next round of Watkins Glen. So
you took it, you know, on asphalt, off-road. Were you on water this past weekend, I heard?
Yeah, I was. My mom was a really good jet ski racer back in the day, and she went to all the world finals, did the world tour, and you know, raced for Sea-Doo and all those things. And it's amazing how many of those relationships we still have that cross over into motor racing. A lot of the engineers in IndyCar and Indy Lights have also raced at jet skis in the past, and you know, obviously I love racing and I want to do anything I can, and I take every opportunity I can get because they're so limited these days. And racing jet skis was just on the list, and my mom had a bunch of friends. I went out and had a race last weekend, so it was awesome.
That's cool. Well, it's good to see you. And you know, they usually say if it's got a wheels and a steering wheel, you'll drive it. But if it's just got a motor, you're going to jump behind the wheel.
Absolutely, yeah, I love it.
All right, good to see you. Matthew Brabham down here on pit lane, Mark.
Well, I'm a little concerned of being down here now because Zach Veach, but Anders Krohn, Kevin Lee, our brethren from the television side, NBCSN, don't listen to a thing that they try to tell you. They may lead you astray, Zach. But yeah.
Well, Well, they were just trying to pull me onto the TV side. I think they were trying to steal me from you guys.
You tell them you found a home right here, and you're set for sure. So now, Zach, we're looking at speeds for this session, as we mentioned a few moments ago. The best we saw, 214 miles per hour. Dixon running in that range. So an explanation, if you will, from a driver's perspective as to why the speeds have dropped so dramatically so far from the qualifying session we had earlier.
Yeah, well, first off, from the eye, you would think that the speeds would actually be better because the conditions that we have right now, the sun's going down, the track's cooling off, these are the ideal conditions for fast times. But with this being the last session that really counts before the race tomorrow, everybody's running high downforce. So the cars are producing a lot of downforce, a lot of grip, but because of that, a lot of drag at the same time. So when the drag goes up, the straightaway speeds go down, and that's why they're averaging where they are right now. But these cars are exactly how they'll probably be running them tomorrow when they take the green flag.
All right, good stuff, Zach. We appreciate that. And as we mentioned, qualifying earlier today, and he was on pole for quite a while. He didn't get knocked off of that pole until the last qualifier, Takuma Sato. In the battle for the championship, but he'll have a great view of the front straightaway when he comes off of turn number 3 to the green flag, starting P2, Simon Padgett. Our day first talked to him after qualifying.
Man, that was awfully close, Simon.
Yeah, it's a shame. I really wanted that one, but that's the best we could do today. I think I was very happy with the car balance. We did a really good job on the number 1 DXC technology Chevy car. So I guess Sato and Andretti were a little faster today, but congrats to them. We starting on the front row is really good. It's just it's an ego day. You want to get that pole for a point and for ego as well. But it was fun. It was a tough qualifying, but. Very happy with my race car.
Tomorrow's when it pays.
Yeah, I mean, it's 500-mile race, so you could start at the back and still win the race. We're going to make sure tonight we have a good race car and then go racing.
Our day first with Simon Padgett. And speaking of Simon, he's made a new friend courtesy of Twitter. And Nick Yeoman, you've caught up with him on pit road.
Yeah, that's right. His name is Drew Powell. He's an actor. He's from Noblesville, Indiana. And you're good friends with Simon Padgett, correct?
That's right. He's my brother from a French mother.
How in the world do you become friends with a guy like Simon Padgett?
That's a great question. It's in this world of social media. That's how it happened. It happened on Twitter. He put out a tweet saying he loved our show, Gotham. And so I wrote back and said, listen, I'll trade you a Gotham set visit for tickets to the Indy 500. And he said, deal. And the rest is history, man.
Now, you got a pretty cool seat on the show Gotham, but you've got a pretty cool seat tomorrow, let's be honest, in the 2-seater, fastest seat in sports with Mario Andretti. I'd say, I'm not asking if you were looking forward to it, but I know that's a silly question.
Oh, my gosh, it's a dream come true. Like, I got the huge honor to do it last year, and it was one of the greatest things I've ever done. And now to get to do it on a Sunday, leading the grid out, I mean, I'm already nervous. So that is super excitement nervous. I can't wait. And Mario Andretti, for crying out loud.
Let's talk about Gotham on Fox. Very popular show. Always gets a lot of really good reviews. How much do you enjoy being a part of such a cool show like Gotham?
Oh, man, it's a dream. Again, a dream come true. Like, as an actor, you just want to work. But then if you get the opportunity to work on a show with the iconic, nature of Batman, I mean, you just can't beat it. And this coming up season, I get to play Solomon Grundy, who's infamous villain. I think first came in the comics in 1944. So now I feel like I get to be part of that history. And so I've just finished 2 night shoots, and I got to tell you, it's going to be incredible.
All right, if you and Simon had to trade places, he jumps behind the camera and has to act, or you drive the race car, who embarrasses themselves the least?
I'll tell you what, I hate to admit it, but I don't think there's anything Simon can't do. And there's a real good chance I'd end up with that car right into turn 1 wall.
Well, hey, enjoy the weekend and enjoy that fastest seat of sports tomorrow. Mario Andretti, he's going to scare you a little bit. Hope you're ready for it.
I can't wait. Thanks, man.
All right, Drew Powell, again, the actor from Gotham. Good friends with Simon Padgett, enjoying the race weekend here at Pocono Raceway, Mark.
Yeah, great stuff. And, I tell you, it's going to be a wild ride tomorrow in that 2-seater, the fastest seat in sports for sure. Well, they added 5 minutes to the session, so we're just about to the 11-minute mark. What's left? And after that, it'll be time for them to tear them all down, build them back up again, and get ready to go racing for the ABC Supply 500 here at Pocono tomorrow.
finish line, the victory lap, the trophy. I'm Mario Andretti, and I know there's nothing sweeter than winning an IndyCar race. And that feeling doesn't stop at the finish line. Because when you drive on Firestone tires, the official tire of the Verizon IndyCar Series, you'll realize that you don't need a track to drive like a champion.
Whatever you drive a Firestone.
Back at Pocono Raceway as we continue preparation for the ABC Supply 500. Mark James, Nick Yeoman, Zach Veach. Yes, we are indeed on pit road for this final session. Just about 10 minutes remaining. Simon Padgett has gone P1 at 216.181 miles per hour. He will roll off again in the second starting position tomorrow. Tony Kanaan with a good starting position. He'll roll off P4. TK is certainly second quick. And, Nick, we see Elio P3. Marco Andretti, whatever issues he had in qualifying have been solved. He's P4. But let's go back to Tony Kanaan. No doubt about the fact that TK has led a lot of laps here, always been in contention, had trouble like he has in a few tracks, in fact, closing the deal. But, we talked to him after qualifying. He knew he probably wasn't going to have a pole run. But nonetheless, I have a sneaking suspicion it wouldn't be a big surprise tomorrow to see Tony Kanaan on the top spot of the podium.
Yeah, I think Tony Kanaan's going to have a really good run. And boy, Anders Krohn is just down here. This IndyCar radio alum is just trying to mess with everybody. We're all going to watch you on NBC Sports Network with the volume muted so everyone can listen to IndyCar radio. I think that's a fair trade-off. Your take on qualifying, Takuma Sato, Simon Padgett on the front row. Are you covering any of those guys on pit lane tomorrow?
I am not, but it was crazy qualifying. I mean, to think that Takuma Sato sees his teammate crash, wad the car up, that he comes back on the hook, sees him there, the whole car obliterated, goes out there and sticks it on pole. I mean, it speaks to just how crazy Takuma Sato is.
All right, now leave my pit reporter, Zach Veach, alone.
No promises.
All right, that's Anders Krohn.
I got the big guy to come down and talk to you.
That's all right. Somebody called security. Back to your point, though, Mark, for Tony Kanaan, it's been one of those seasons where it's been so up and down, and his future very much in doubt. A lot of people don't know where Tony Kanaan may be racing next year, especially with the future of Chip Ganassi's organization. Are they going to scale back to 3 cars? The sponsorship money, where's it going to come from? There's talk that Max Chilton and Charlie Kimball could be moving spots as well. So Tony Kanaan, I think, very much driving for his career and for his future. Pretty fast so far in this practice session. He's third quick, just got bumped down by Max Chilton, who's going to second. Simon Padgett is still the fastest. But TK, Mark, you just know on some of the restarts tomorrow, he is going to mix it up. He's going to find that third or fourth groove. I'm looking forward to watching TK maybe storm to the front tomorrow from turn 1.
Yeah, I know that over the years, TK has developed that reputation as a guy who has an issue or two in qualifying, and when the green flag flies, people like to watch him work his way methodically through the field. I don't think that's a reputation that anyone really relishes or embraces, but it's what he's had to deal with from time to time, no doubt. But good to see him have a good day of practice and qualifying, and again, let's hope he can squeeze a podium out of what looks to be a very fast race car this weekend here at Pocono. So, Zach, so far so good in terms of this session. I think, there's the checklist that we talked about earlier for the entire weekend, in fact. So give us an idea of exactly what things are going to look like from a team perspective, what the guys in the paddock will be doing once this session is over, and what the teams will do in terms of mapping out strategy and preparation for race day.
Well, I think it all comes down to how well their debrief goes over after this session. Once the checkered flag falls, the drivers will get out, talk with their engineers, go over the list of changes of what they did in this 30-minute session and see what they liked, what they didn't, and what they think for tomorrow. So I think that's the most important thing. Once the drivers decide what they like, the engineers decide what they would like to do. The engineers then let the mechanics know what changes to make on the car tonight, which will be done. And then it's just small maintenance items as well, like things checking the wings, checking the underbody of the car, making sure the floor is not damaged, and minor things like cleaning it even. So as long as nobody finds the outside wall this session, the jobs behind these mechanics is going to be pretty simple as far as just getting things ready to go 500 miles tomorrow.
Nick Yeoman, so many stories today involving guys like Elio Castroneves and Edy Carpenter and Ryan Hunter-Reay. And as has often been the case when they have made an appearance at the racetrack, talking about the 88 of Harding Racing, they have just quietly and methodically gone about things in a very efficient manner. And lo and behold, the dust settles on qualifying, and Gabby Chavez, making another start for Harding on an oval, will roll off 8th tomorrow. What a great start to the weekend again for that race team.
Yeah, I don't think enough can be said about just how impressive that is when you consider the Team Penske's, the Chip Ganassi, Andretti Autosports of the world, all the resources that they have and all the wind tunnel time and all the testing, and then this small little team, this startup team between Mike Harding and Larry Curry shows up in the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, a quiet top 10 run, avoids all the carnage at Texas Motor Speedway, comes home with the top 5, and I think it's really given them how well they've run. Great qualifying run earlier today. It's given them the confidence that they can go full-time in the Verizon IndyCar Series. I'd hope that that's with Gabby Chavez behind the wheel, because that young man, a former Indy Lights champion, deserves an opportunity to be back in the Verizon IndyCar Series full-time. But it is awful impressive. That is not an easy thing to do, Mark, to battle with the big boys of the Verizon IndyCar Series. That group's doing a great job. They don't have a ton of people down here on the pit box. They got a crew of about 7 or 8 guys, but Larry Curry, Al Unser Jr. is involved, Mike Harding backing with the financial support. They've got a really good nucleus. They're running that team out of the Dry Reinbold shop in Indianapolis, and they're an easy one to root for, Mark, if you want to pull for somebody to pull an upset, one of those dark horses, perhaps on Sunday.
Zach Veach, I'm sure, with you and Gabby Chavez being the close friends that you are, he's done a couple of debriefs, for instance, after Texas, and I'm sure you both had plenty to talk about after running the Indianapolis 500 this year. Just from his perspective, what has he shared with you in terms of a relationship that he's developed with the crew at Harding Racing?
Well, first off, he's buying dinner after today. That's the one thing I can tell you. But no, I mean, Gabby just can't say enough about how happy he is with his group that he has there at Harding Racing, and how excited he is just with the equipment that he has and the engineers. He knows that he has a chance to actually run up front now, and I think he's starting to prove that qualifying 6th. So I think, it's the best situation that he could be in. How he got it was pretty impressive. It came from a phone call. They found him and asked him to be the driver for that group, and I think he's doing a great job for him, and I hope to continue to see him there for years to come.
We're watching some track activity now on the monitors we have down here on pit road, and we expect to hear the roar off of turn number 3 momentarily, and here comes a whole line of race cars running nose to tail. Will Power, Elio Castroneves working together. James Hinchcliffe, Sebastian Saavedra, Carlos Munoz, Joseph Newgarden. We see Rossi, the 27 of Marco Andretti, rejoining the fray. A couple of cars diving onto pit road. Charlie Kimball right now, the beneficiary of some clean green racetrack, running all by himself, trying to get that car locked in. So certainly a 12-13 car pack there, Nick Yeoman, who doing all they can to try to simulate race conditions tomorrow.
Yeah, as much fun as it is to be down here on pit lane and say hi to some folks and talk to some folks. When you're down here, you always find yourself looking up at these monitors and seeing what's going on the racetrack, especially at these large ovals. And with just 3 minutes to go in this final half hour of practice, these guys are really mixing it up. Max Chilton and Graham Rahal chasing after each other out of turn number 3 as they streak down the front straightaway. It's a line of about 9 or 10 cars, Mark, all the way down into turn number 1, with a lot of these drivers mixing it up, working in the draft, trying to pass each other, trying to perfect these race setups to go running here on Sunday.
Alexander Rossi working with his teammate, the pole sitter Takuma Sato. We saw them running just a couple of car lengths apart down the main straightaway, and some drivers may have wrapped up their sessions for now, feeling as though they checked all the boxes that they needed to check off with just 2 minutes remaining in this session. However, others maximizing the time. As we mentioned, Will Power, Elio Castroneves continue to run. Now a string of 4 led by Saavedra, then Newgarden, then Sato, and Rossi. That front 4 is kind of checked out on the rest of the field. We see the 21 of J.R. Hildebrand. There again, one more time, goes the 83 of Charlie Kimball. Again, as this session continues to wind down, we do want to set the starting lineup for tomorrow's race for you. Rolling off in row number 11, it'll be Edy Carpenter and Ryan Hunter-Reay. In row number 10, J.R. Hildebrand and Elio Castroneves. Connor Daly and Carlos Munoz in row number 9. In row number 8, Sebastian Saavedra. He's in for Mikel this weekend. He'll be joined by Marco Andretti. In row number 7, Esteban Gutierrez and Joseph Newgarden. Row 6 features Ed Jones and James Hinchcliffe. In row number 5, Scott Dixon and Max Chilton. Row 4, Graham Rahal and Gabby Chavez. Will Power and Alexander Rossi make up row number 3. Charlie Kimball and Tony Kanaan will start in row number 2. On the outside of row 1, Simon Padgett. Takuma Sato is your pole sitter. Our day first caught up with him after that magnificent run, the very last qualifier this day here at Pocono.
Big smile with Takuma Sato. Second pole this season. You go back to Detroit, that was the other one. How big is this?
Oh, this is massive. I mean, Detroit was great. I mean, it's a lot of satisfaction for the street course, but this one is a super speedway, and we just won obviously the biggest race in the world. And we come here, the team was super strong in practice. We had a little. We had a little worry things in qualifying, particularly for the Lions. Was just one ahead of me, but we share a lot of stuff. So, but I got to believe it. 26 cars did work beautifully, and the boys did an amazing job. So I really big thank you to Andre Josport.
We talked to Alexander Rossi right after he spoke to you before you went out, just to try to calm you down, because he said he knows what it's like to go out after seeing a teammate go out and crash. What did he say, and what did that mean to you?
Well, because we were trimming so much, the pattern shift turn 1 to turn 3 from lap 1 to lap 2 is very different. So Alex gave me what the change is like, and don't worry about the rears and stuff like that. So he gave me a lot of tips, and that's definitely helping me.
He did something about these 500-mile weekends that agrees with you.
I mean, it's a fantastic team. So I think we keep head down and a great, good practice session this afternoon, and hopefully we come out in very strong tomorrow too.
Your pole sitter with day first, talking about Takuma Sato. Checkers on this session. Will Power, Padgett, Chilton, Kanaan, Castroneves, the top 5, rounding out the top 10, Newgarden, Andretti, Gutierrez, Saavedra, and Rossi. I do hope you'll join us tomorrow for flag-to-flag coverage of the ABC Supply 500 here at Pocono. And we'll take the air at 2 p.m. Eastern. We'll have the whole crew here. We're joined to the booth by Zach Veach. On pit road, we'll have Jim Murphy, Michael Young, and Dave First, with Nick Yeoman and Jake Query out on the course. Get the thoughts and impressions tomorrow of some of the legends from days gone by. Guys like Hal Unser Jr. and Arie Luyendyk. They'll be sharing their thoughts and impressions of Pocono then and now throughout that show tomorrow. And again, we hope you will join us. An uneventful final warm-up session for sure. That's what everyone likes. And now we're ready to go racing. The director of the Advanced Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network is Wally Levitt. On-site engineering and production by Rick Evans. For Zach Veach and Nick Yeoman, I'm Mark Jane. So long for now from Pocono Raceway.